Hello and welcome to the Smoking Cessation online module. So we are going to talk more about smoking cessation. Specifically, our focus is going to be on what nurses can do to assist patients with cessation. Okay. Um, we know a lot about cigarettes. We know a lot about smoking. We know that it's bad. There's really no benefit to smoking. There's nothing good that's going to come out of that. That's pretty undisputed. What I wanted to review just quickly was, oftentimes people don't ever really stop and think, well, what's really in a cigarette? You think about nicotine, right? Or tobacco, but you don't really think about the fact that there's over 600 chemicals inside each cigarette. 69 are certainly known to cause cancer. It's been documented, and many more are known to be poisonous. So just from that data alone, we are even more affirmed in our statement that nothing is good about cigarettes and nothing good will come from smoking them. Just kind of looking at this picture quickly, I think gives a good visual of the poison that is inside each cigarette. I think all too often people think of tobacco as natural because it grows as a plant, and you just don't really think about it as a chemical. In many cases, or some people don't. But if you look at this picture here, you can see different chemicals and poisons that are in cigarettes. Ammonia, for example, insecticides, solvents, um, candle wax, cadmium, like that's what's in batteries, butane, which is lighter fluid, sewer gas, methane, arsenic, actual arsenic is in there, carbon monoxide, methanol. So you can see here very easy that there's no upside to this. There's no beneficial ingredients in this, and it's pretty clear why they're called cancer sticks by most. So I just kind of wanted you to think about that as something that you could also impart upon your patients of when you're talking about smoking is, did you ever really think about what's in there? And, just kind of approach it from a different angle. So I thought that was pretty interesting to look at. Here's just another uh, a written format of what's some of the chemicals that are found in each cigarette. Like I said, there's nothing good that comes of smoking. We know that almost 500,000 deaths are attributed to smoking each year, affects all systems, and really any pre-existing or comorbid conditions are worsened because of smoking. And despite all this, we know a lot of people still smoke. 1.1 billion people worldwide still smoke. 1 out of 3 adults smoke. Interestingly, just kind of an FYI, China is the largest producer and consumer of cigarettes at this point. Okay, so I do want to spend a little time talking about nicotine. Although I just told you that, there's all these different ingredients and chemicals and poisons inside cigarettes, we'll spend the most of our time talking about nicotine simply because nicotine is the addictive component. It is what makes it so hard to quit. This is the battle that healthcare providers will face when assisting their clients with smoking cessation. Even people who want to quit oftentimes cannot quit because of the addictive nature of nicotine. So I just want you to understand that, and understand a little bit about nicotine itself, as I think that will give you some insight into other ways to help a smoker quit. So we understand that nicotine is addictive, which is exactly why smokers tend to smoke so frequently, right? And we know that addiction is characterized by compulsive seeking and use, right? Even if it means negative health effects, they continue to seek and use tobacco products. Most smokers know that it's harmful. Most want to quit. But unfortunately, many of those attempts just last for a few days, and ultimately return to smoking. Research has shown conclusively how nicotine acts on the brain. We know that nicotine activates and regulates feelings of pleasure or the reward pathways in the brain. And we know that nicotine increases dopamine in those reward pathways. So with each cigarette that a person takes, with each puff of a cigarette, dopamine is being activated, and dopamine is being increased. Okay, and so that pleasure reward pathway continues to be activated, which causes people to seek more. So if nicotine reaches the brain within 10 seconds and it very quickly produces a euphoric effect, and it often peaks within 10 seconds of inhalation, but those effects dissipate within just a few minutes, which causes the person to need to smoke again, or to repeat continually their intake throughout the day, so that they get those increases of dopamine, so they can get that euphoric feeling that they're becoming addicted to. Okay. Nicotine acts as both a stimulant and a sedative. So immediately after exposure to nicotine, there's a kick caused by the drug stimulation of the adrenal glands and the resulting discharge of epinephrine. This rush of epinephrine stimulates the body, which releases glucose, as well as increases blood pressure and heart rate and respiration and all that. And we know that nicotine also suppresses insulin output from the pancreas. And this, in combination with some of the other effects that we've already talked about, create a very addictive substance that is both a stimulant and a sedative, that is 5 to 10 times more addictive than cocaine, and equally addictive as heroin. We also know that repeated exposure to nicotine results in tolerance, and the tolerance being the condition where higher doses of a drug are required to produce the same initial effect. And since nicotine is metabolized really quickly, meaning it disappears from the body in a few hours, there's some tolerance that was lost overnight. And this is often why smokers report that their first cigarette of the day is the strongest or the best, and that there's less effect as the day goes on. But because of this tolerance, they need more to get the same effect.